Today, we're going to demystify a piece of tech that is totally changing how AI learns and communicates. It's called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG for short. And believe me, it's giving our AI assistants a huge real-time upgrade. So, let's dive right in.
Okay, so to really get why RAG is such a game changer, let's start with something you've probably run into. Have you ever asked an AI, like ChatGPT, about something that just happened? And the answer you get back feels, well, totally out of date? That frustration you feel? It points straight to a massive limitation in how these AI models work.
And that frustration really gets to the heart of the problem. It's what we can call AI's blind spot.
You see, at their core, these big language models, LLMs, are trained on these enormous but static data sets. A good way to think about it is like they've memorized an encyclopedia, but it's from a few years ago. Their knowledge is literally frozen in time with a hard cutoff date. That means they can't just go browse the web for today's news or look up your company's latest internal docs. So, this static knowledge base, it creates two huge problems. First, obviously, the information gets old. You ask it who won last night's game, and it just has no idea. But second, and this is a big one, an LLM won't just say, I don't know. Instead, it'll sometimes hallucinate. It'll just make stuff up that sounds really plausible but is completely wrong. And that just destroys our trust and really limits how useful these tools can be.
So the big question is, how do you give an AI access to new, relevant info without having to retrain the whole thing all the time? Well, this is where a really clever solution comes into play. And that solution is called Retrieval Augmented Generation. RAG is built to solve this exact problem. Instead of just relying on its old, pre-trained memory, RAG lets a language model look up fresh, relevant info from outside sources before it even tries to answer you. Here's the best way to think about it. A standard LLM, it's like a student taking a closed book exam. It can only use what it's already memorized. But a RAG-powered LLM, now that's a student taking an open book exam. It can look up the facts in trusted sources to put together a way more accurate and informed answer. It's a total game changer.
Okay, so how does this whole open book exam for AI actually work behind the scenes? Well, it's a surprisingly straightforward but really powerful process.
All right, it basically happens in a few steps. When you ask a question, the RAG system first goes and finds relevant documents from a knowledge base you've given it. That could be anything, a database, your company's internal files, even a live news feed. Next, it takes that info it found and mashes it together with your original question. This creates a new, augmented prompt. And finally, it sends that super rich, context-packed prompt to the LLM. Now the AI has all the facts it needs to give you a really solid, grounded answer. And you can see that whole pipeline right here. The user's prompt comes in, and right away it goes to the retriever. Think of the retriever as a super-fast librarian. It searches a data store, which is just full of your trusted documents, to find the most relevant bits of information. Then that info gets combined with your original prompt and sent over to the generator, which is the language model itself. And that final step is what lets the AI build a response that's actually based on real, verified facts.
But here's the thing. That simple pipeline, that's just the starting point. As we ask AI to solve tougher and more complex problems, the RAG systems themselves are getting more and more sophisticated. We're actually seeing this evolution from a simple RAG model to much more advanced systems. For instance, you've got something called branched RAG, which can take one big, complex question and break it into smaller pieces to find better answers. But the one that's really getting people excited, that's Agentic RAG.
And this is where things get, well, kind of mind-blowing. Agentic RAG brings AI agents into the mix. These aren't just passive tools. They can actually think, plan, and decide for themselves what info they need to find. So, if the first search doesn't cut it, the agent can do another search, what they call a multi-hop, to dig even deeper. It's a lot like how a human researcher would tackle a problem, and it allows for way more complex thinking. Okay, but of course, connecting a super powerful AI to all this external data, it's not all sunshine and roses. There are definitely challenges. When you try to use RAG in the real world, you've got to navigate some pretty big hurdles and, importantly, some serious security risks. From a practical standpoint, developers have a bunch of problems to solve. I mean, what if the answer just isn't in the knowledge base to begin with? Or what if the data is all messy and confusing for the AI to read? And what about scalability? How do you process huge amounts of data really, really fast? These are all major engineering challenges you have to solve to make a RAG system actually work well.
But even more critical than that are the security risks. Think about it. If your knowledge base has sensitive info, there's a chance it could leak. Attackers could try to poison the data source with bogus information, basically tricking the AI into giving bad answers. Or, and this is sneaky, they could hide malicious instructions inside the documents themselves so that when the AI reads them, it gets hijacked.
Thankfully, people have thought about this, and there are ways to fight back. We're talking about best practices like super strict access controls so people only see the data they're supposed to. You also need really tough input validation to screen out any malicious junk. And for the highest level of security, some companies choose to self-host the AI models, keeping all that sensitive data safely behind their own firewall. But look, even with those challenges, the potential of RAG is just undeniable. It's pushing us into a whole new era for AI, one that is way more accurate, more trustworthy, and just genuinely more helpful. And this isn't some far-off future tech. We're already seeing it being used in really important fields. In medicine, doctors can use it to analyze patient records against the latest research. In finance, it's powering real-time market analysis. In customer support and education, it's delivering instant, accurate, and personalized answers. RAG isn't just making AI smarter, it's making it reliable.
So, when you boil it all down, by giving AI this open book exam, RAG is transforming it. It's no longer just a know-it-all with a bad memory. It's becoming a resourceful research assistant that has the world's knowledge at its fingertips. And that, right there, fundamentally changes what we can expect from AI and what we can do with it. Which leaves us with just one last big question for you. When your AI assistant can learn anything instantly, what will you ask it?